Hey, this is Banjo guy Ollie, and you're watching Chasing Happiness. What's going on? Ton of things. I'm very busy with the channels. I have my Banjo Guy Ollie channel where I do my covers, and right now I'm working on my Mega Man month. A while back I wanted to do just full month of covers, and I'm starting in June, and I'm gonna do one cover every week of Mega Man music. So I want to do a Castlevania one as well at some point. And maybe go back and re-explore Undertale. I'm also working on a semi-secret project of a popular Amiga game, yeah, that's all I can tell you about it for now. And I'm also busy with the other channel, BG Ollie, where I do MSX stuff, reviews, and all my speed paintings as well. That's taken off actually, which is great. People seem to be loving all these paintings, and there's surprisingly little around. You know, it's mostly pixel art and bead art and that kind of stuff. But in terms of actual artwork and concept art, at least in traditional form, there's not a lot around. So it's really cool that people seem to be enjoying these. So yeah, busy, very busy. Also, I'll be at the RetroWare World Expo, convention, sometime in October. I'll probably make my own video to announce that, but it's confirmed, it's going ahead, and I'll be there. So that's really cool. Really excited about that. My earliest video game memory is, God, I think it's the video pack. My father was an engineer at Philips, and one day he brought this board with tiny little smaller boards, like he had a shoe case of it. It was just stacked in there, and it was just a bare board, bare circuits, and the carts. Pretty much all the games available at the time. Because Philips was making the video pack in Europe, which is the Magnavox, the Odyssey in the US. So he brought a prototype of it, and that was my first experience of games. I know for a fact with a Pong console, but I think the video pack was actually, I played the video pack before the Pong console at my mother's house. So yeah, that would have been the video pack, and I think I was like 5 or something like that, or 4 or 5. Like, I was very young, and just being amazed by what I was seeing on screen. Like, you know, it was like stuff you'd see in films, really, or in sci-fi films, and there it was on my TV screen. Mind you, it was in black and white because we didn't have a color TV. We didn't have any controllers, so all we had was the wires. So we'd put the wires in between our fingers and use the connecting wire just to move stuff. We didn't have enough. We needed 5 for all directions, so we actually managed. I don't know how we managed it, but it was really archaic way to move stuff. And then we got the controllers, and we actually got a proper video pack with a case, you know. But we had all the games for that. It was really cool. So that was my first earliest experience with video games in general. And after that, I had a couple of Game & Watch, and the MSX then came out a couple of years later, because Philips was making the MSX, and my dad was an engineer there. So the MSX one, that was really cool, and it was all on tapes. So there was no discs or carts yet. All the games we had were on tapes. And I'd never heard of Sega or Nintendo at the time, you know. So that was my only gaming consoles were the video pack and the MSX. at the time. I remember the first time I saw the MSX, I walked in the room and my dad had programmed a small, I made a small program in BASIC that just says, "Hi Ollie, how are you?" But he called me over and ran the program as I walked in, and I looked at the screen going, "Oh my god, this freaking thing is talking to me." So I was both shocked and amazed, and I think I actually replied, "I'm fine, thank you," thinking it was actually the computer talking to me. My dad got a good laugh out of that. But yeah, that was my first experience with the MSX, and then after that it was just great. It was a great machine. It was the only machine I had anyway, so for many years. And I still love it. I mean, I do the MSX Mansion series because I'm so passionate about the MSX. After that I had an Amiga, but I got to my friends at Sega Master System, and there's a friend with an N.E.S, PC Engine and all that. I actually didn't know anyone. I didn't know anyone with an N.E.S, so I pretty much skipped the entire N.E.S platform as a kid, because I didn't know anyone that had one. It wasn't that common in France, which is very interesting because retro gaming now is all about mostly Nintendo, it seems. There's still a lot of Sega as well, and even in France, like the NES is very popular in the retro gaming community. But back then, I didn't know anyone that had an NES, and it wasn't that common a console. So it's funny to see how, yeah, very selective nostalgia there on part of the retro gaming scene, at least for France. But Sega would have been the big console over there. So yeah, that's my gaming memories. Well, it's got to be the MSX. Yeah, and the Amiga was pretty great. It's hard to choose, but I mean, as far as impact and the effect it had on me, and because as it wasn't just a console, it was a computer, and you could do. I learned so much. I learned how to play music, or how to develop an ear for music. I started making music with the MSX, not with instruments, but with actual programming the sound chip directly on the MSX. And it's only years after I got it, like 10 years after I got my first guitar, and it was horrible because you couldn't do anything with it. I couldn't compose entire pieces on the MSX, but I couldn't get two notes together on the guitar at the time. So. But yeah, it would have been the MSX really. I learned graphics, I learned programming, learned so many stuff on the MSX, and I could play games. It was really cool to have that machine as a kid, or I suppose any computer really. For me it was the MSX definitely, and the Amiga after that. I mean, the Amiga was just jaw-dropping, coming from an 8-bit background, and suddenly you were in the 16-bit world, and you had all these games, and the demo scene was just huge, and so good at what they were doing, like the stuff that was coming out. The first 3D games, and you know, they were all on the Amiga really. So yeah, that would have been my second machine. My third machine was the PlayStation, the Sony PlayStation, and then I moved on to PCs after that. But like I said, I own, or at least I tried different consoles, and we used to swap. So I'd give my friend the MSX for a month or two, and he'd give me whatever his Sega Master System to play. So I got to experience a lot of different platforms, but MSX all the way. I collect. I collect pretty much whatever I can find at flea markets and car boot sales and charity shops. If it's cheap and any good or odd or different, I'll get it. But my collecting platform of choice is. I have a few, but first the MSX. I would give the MSX a priority, financial priority. And then after that, it's a toss between the PC big box and the Amiga big box as well. Yeah, and then yeah, the MSX again. You know, it's and whether it's I try to get stuff complete in box. Because I already have most of the stuff on copies of floppies. So it's more to have the complete in-box collection as opposed to just experiencing the games. I have already experienced most of the games, not all of them, but a lot of games on the MSX. And yeah, after that the Amiga, again, I mean, the times that were in it, we didn't have a lot of money, so most of the games I got to play weren't exactly legitimate copies. So now I'm making up for that time by getting actually legitimate copies, which is a shame it's now, because it's not actually going in the pockets of the actual developers, but at least makes me feel slightly better about it. And then after that, yeah, it's whatever I can find. I mean, if it's on a cart and it's cheap, I'll probably just get it. PlayStation 2 is a cool system to collect for. PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2, because you still find an awful lot of it, at least in Ireland here, and it's dirt cheap. I mean, you find them for 50 cents to €1. Like I would not spend much on the, you know, most titles. Like you'll find them for €2 seems to be my limit for any PlayStation 2 game. 3 for PlayStation game, and you find a ton of them. Like most weeks I find about 10 games I don't have, and they have a huge collection as well. So yeah, I have NES stuff. I don't know, I don't have a lot. I have about 40 cards for the NES and same for the SNES. I'm trying to get into the Master System and the Mega Drive more than the Nintendo stuff, because like I said earlier on, there were consoles that were around when I was a kid. Nintendo just didn't have a huge presence in France. It had some, but not a ton. Like I knew one guy that had an SNES. Everybody else had either Sega or computers. Computers were in Europe were just huge, or mainland Europe were just huge. My favorite video game memory, I have two, and again they're on the, no, I have three. I have a lot actually. It probably my first one is Vampire Killer on the MSX. I did here. That is my original copy of Vampire Killer on the MSX, we just got the MSX2, and there was only one shop in town that had some video games, and they had this just in the display case. Never heard of it, I didn't know what it was. All I knew is that because I had a few MSX games before, and a lot of them had the Konami logo on startup. So I saw Konami and I actually thought it was the name of the game. So I went, oh, Konami, it's a great game. So I picked that up, and then I looked at the back and it looked fantastic. So I picked that up, and my jaw dropped when I came home. It was just amazing. Yeah, I remember it like I just played it for about 5 hours straight that evening. I didn't leave my room. Maybe 10 minutes for dinner, and then I was straight back into my room just playing that. And it was just the music, the gameplay was fantastic. I mean, anyone who's played it on the NES knows, you know. But on the MSX, it was I think it's a better version. I account for my own nostalgia there, but I think it's a better version than the NES game, because it's so different. It's more exploration based, and yeah, the music is probably better on the NES, but graphically it was just fantastic. There was this one, another game called The Treasure of Ushas, which I have here. I have not done a review of this game yet, but Treasure of Ushas, and I'd seen a review in a magazine, and there was no, the shop where I'd bought the other game was gone by then. Actually, I didn't buy this game, my father bought it for me, because as a 7-year-old kid, didn't quite have the money for it. But I had saved money. It was actually to buy a Game & Watch console, and I remember we were in town. I was with my mother shopping, or she was shopping, and I loped for about an hour or two. And just looked around shops, and I found this game shop, and they had one game for the MSX, and it was this, and it didn't have a manual at the time, so actually they gave me the game for a discount, but it was all my savings, which was a lot of money for a kid, and I bought the game on the spot, and then my mother gave out to me and grounded me for about a week, so I didn't get to play it for a week. I was watching, all I could see was the box on the shelf, out of reach, and I wasn't allowed to play it for a week. And then, but when I got to play it, it was a combination of just being able to play it and the fact that it's probably one of the best games on MSX. I'll have to do a review at some point. I would put it probably before Vampire Killer. Yeah, it's a fantastic game. Amazing music, amazing graphics, and amazing gameplay. At this stage, for me, I've played a lot of the MSX games, so it's mostly a collection. And as far as the other platforms, I mean, PC as well. I'm trying to get all the games I used to play on the PC and on the Amiga. So on those three platforms, it's mostly a collection. But whenever I get something I haven't played, I do play it for about an hour or two. Not a lot. I just don't have a lot of time with the channels and my job and everything else for gaming. But I do take the time, like once a week, once or twice a week. I do play for a few hours. So I would say it's mostly collecting for me at this stage. Although, if I have a game I haven't played, I'll definitely give it a go. Unfortunately, I don't have quite the time to finish games, to complete them, but that's just the way it is. Yeah, right now I'd rather play music than play video games. But yeah. It's collecting for me at this stage. Actually, I still play all my portable consoles. So I have all my Game Boy stuff and Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, Nintendo DS and 3DS. I still play that a lot, actually. And my PSP. You find a lot of PSP, DS. Some GBA stuff, not a lot, but I do find the odd card every now and then. There's still a lot around, and I play that because it's convenient. You know, you can just, if you're waiting for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you can just play that. I play my Game & Watch and all my LCD consoles a lot. I play these even for 5 minutes or just a quick game. I just don't have time to spend like 3, 5, 10 hours on a big game. The only one I would play was probably just Fallout and Skyrim, really. Games like that, but they take a lot of time. No, not this Sunday. Next week. I'll see you next week. No problem, dude. Thanks very much for having me. I'll see you at the camera side, buddy.